been thinking a lot about what my next collagraph will be, and I've decided to do something really challenging. And the reason why it's challenging, because there's either too much going on in my image or not enough. I can't quite decide. So it could end up being quite abstracty. So the image is this photograph I took a while ago while traveling. It's going to be super hard to do in a collagraph, and you might end up being in a situation where you won't even really see what it is. But I really love this. I love the textures and colors and just everything about this. And despite the fact that it will probably be super hard and it might look completely pants, I decided that I'm going to go for it and give it a go. I could have several different approaches to it. I could have two separate plates, one with just blue and the other one with umber. So one just treating rocks and one treating the sky and the sea. Or I could try viscosity printing. And the reason why I am interested in using viscosity printing technique is because I could end up with some really interesting effects. So my approach will be the blue will be treated with will be cut out, so it will be lower in my plate, and it will be treated with a more sticky ink and a softer roller. And the umber, the rocks, will be sticking out, and they will be treated with a less sticky ink, which will be mixed up with a bit of oil and treated with a hard roller. And the reason why I like this is because I might get some of the blue in my shadowy, darker areas, which will be lower in my plate, which I quite like the idea of, because it might give a really interesting feel to the overall image. So I'm going to have a go at that, and I'm going to try to get the textures of the rocks with all sorts of different stuff, a bit of polyfiller, a bit of dry point perhaps, maybe using some materials, maybe using a little bit of tissue glued onto the plate. So yeah, we'll have a go. I've done similar sort of print before, and it came out okay, but it was very difficult. But I'm really looking forward just to having another go at this sort of challenging collagraph. Okay, so my plate is now varnished, which will protect it nicely. So what I want to just talk about is what I have done in a time-lapse video. So I have added polyfiller and glue, and the reason why I've used polyfiller, because I wanted to have this very unique sort of rocks effect, lots of very interesting textures, and polyfiller is really good at giving that sort of effect. And there's lots of really dark bits that I wanted to be prominent. Also, I've got a bit here that has these sort of interesting rocks, spiky rocks that have got really light tips. So what I used to get this polish effect, where the ink is going to wipe off quite a bit, is I used glue on the tips of these rocks and these stones, and just few streaks of sort of glue up here, so it wipes off really well. So what I'm going to do now is, I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm going to try out, is I'm going to ink up here with amber, because I want these to be really dark bits, but I'm going to leave these out of inking up. So I'm going to create some sort of, perhaps a template to cover this area up so I don't ruin it with an ink. Then I'm going to wipe off the amber, and then I'm going to do some viscosity printing. And I want this, I'm going to use a roller, and I'm going to roll this way, and it's going to be with a soft roller and sticky ink, and I'm going to make a gradual sort of blue into a bit of a turquoisey green, and I'm going to roll this way. My roller is big enough to go that way, just in one swoop, and I'm hoping in all these areas that lovely blue and turquoise are going to come in. Some of it might go in here, but that's all right. I can deal with that later. And actually, you know, shadows can be quite blue, so I'm hoping this could look quite interesting, even if it might get into these sort of areas that are not necessarily blue, but it might give it a nice continuity. And I'm going to use a hard roller, which I'm going to roll this way. And the hard roller will have a very diluted viscous ink of perhaps sienna or amber, or maybe with a little bit of pink in it. And it will be very light color. And I'm hoping this color will sort of lovely translucent on all the raised bits, just to lift out those beautiful areas. And hopefully none of it will go in here. Fingers crossed. If that doesn't come out, a viscosity print doesn't come out, I'm just going to do a à la papier technique with just wiping off and inking up, and just see how that goes. So it'd be a bit of a trial and error to see what works best for this plate. So quite exciting to experiment and do different techniques. Okay, my plate is ready. It's been inked up and wiped off with amber, with raw amber. I do really like how the mountains have worked out with the polyfiller. I'm quite excited about what it's going to look like in a print. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use put a load of extender, which is going to lighten up and make my ink a little bit more translucent and lighter. And I'm just going to put a little bit of raw sienna and a tiny bit of Madder Lake, because I want the sienna to be a little bit pinkish, like sometimes rocks can be in the sun. And I'm going to use my hard roller, and I'm going to use a linseed reducing oil because I want this ink to be really loose, soupy consistency. Because what happened once I roll over my hard roller on the raised bits, that is going to hopefully repel my more sticky blue ink, which I'm going to apply with a soft roller after. So let's start mixing up the ink and apply the colour.